Greetings to you wherever you are in Nigeria, Africa, and the world over. My name is Fumi Olaore. I'm bringing you the My Community and I podcast, an avenue where we interview professionals of various walks of life, learning from them about how they serve their communities and the negative impact their non-performance has on the communities they serve. Because my career is an expression of who I am, service to my community, whereby my community can be as small as my home and as big as the entire world. Today we have Dr. Ayojesutomi Abiodun-Solanke. She is a lecturer in fisheries technology at the Federal College of Fisheries and Marine Technology in Lagos. Her research focuses on improving fish safety and utilization through innovative smoking technologies and traditional preservation methods. She's a fellow of African Women in Agricultural Research and Development and holds leadership roles in several organizations, including the Nigerian Women in Agricultural Research for Development and the African Continental Association of Food Protection. Dr. Abiodun-Solanke has led international research grants and published extensively on fish processing and preservation with a commitment to empowering marginalized fisherfolk and promoting sustainable practices. Welcome, Dr. Abiodun-Solanke.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here today. Thank you for the opportunity as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So my first question, since I've introduced you um, widely, I'd like to find out how you came into fisheries. You know, how did you come into this profession to
Okay.
research on fisheries?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sincerely, I was just thinking about this a few days ago, and I concluded by saying that obviously it must be divine, because my journey into food science, I started as a food science practitioner, because my first and second degree in food psychology. Yeah, so it all started when I was in secondary school. I attended of the Federal Unity schools, and I remember then when we got to SS2, we were asked, you will always be asked, so what course of study do you want to put in your JAM form? So we were all put together. I was in science class. So all of us were called to the guidance and counseling department, and they now started asking us the question. In fact, at those particular points in time, they even told us that we can contact our parents and everything so that we can be properly guided. So I discovered that most of the people, 90% of the people in my class then chose medicine and surgery. Then maybe a few, about 5%, chose pharmacy. So, all the other courses were now like the remaining 5%. So that got me curious that how come everybody is how come everybody is feeling medicine and surgery? So I didn't want to follow the pack, because I don't just like to follow people blindly. I like to have to take my own decision and to be, to focus on that. So that got me curious. I just went, I studied about medicine and surgery, studied about pharmacy. So I now saw that, okay, the reason why many people are picking medicine and surgery is because obviously they know that at one point in time or the other, people will fall sick and they will always need a doctor to treat them. So I now started thinking that, okay, what if I study a course that will not make me fall sick, so that I don't even need a doctor? So, understand? So at some point, I started doing the research and everything. And that was how I came about food science and technology. Because reading through, some of the people that have done it in the past, I was able to see that if you eat the right quantity of food at the right time, with the right constituent and everything, and you take proper rest, you may not even have any business visiting the doctor. So that was what prompted me. I just said, this is the course I will go for. People were so surprised. Some of my friends were like, have you heard of anybody doing well, doing this kind of course? I just said, no, this is what I want to do. And I just filled it into my JAM form. So, and another thing it even offered me is that, why people, almost everybody filled medicine and surgery, the competition was very, very steep, and it was quite competitive. So for people like us that just filled courses like that, in fact, no competition. So that was how I started. I started off in the Polytechnic, but I did direct entry. So I went to the university. So after doing that, I did my master's. Then now what led me to fisheries? So after doing my master's, I had to relocate to Lagos based on when I got married. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I came
But
to
that was
Lagos,
still, sorry, that was
what did it?
still in food science and technology, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
The
Okay.
master's was still, the second degree was still in food technology.
Okay.
So immediately I got married. I did that shortly before I got married. So immediately I got married, I had to move to Lagos. So, all through the time, in fact, many of my friends, they were not surprised when I told them I was when they learned that I was a lecturer. I've been a lecturer, because right from school, I've been saying it, that no, it's lecturing I just want to do, because I want a course that will give me time, that will allow me to do this and do that. So people were not surprised. So I was fixated that, okay, lecturing job. So getting to Lagos, my institution, the institution where I work now, they actually put up an advert. But even before then, because I've known that it's lecturing I want to do, getting to Lagos, I already volunteered and was doing volunteering teachers for Lagos State Scheme. There was something they call Lagos Eco project, something like that, where you can volunteer to be a life skill teacher. You go to secondary school. So I've already started that. So when the advert from this particular institution that I work with now came, I just filled in the interview and everything. So that was how I got into a fishery school. So getting into a fishery school, starting off as a lecturer, they will be like, you cannot supervise any student because you don't have fisheries background. You don't do this, you don't do that. That also, it posed a challenge to me that, after all, what is in that fishery itself that I too cannot be a part of? So that was at that point in time, I just decided that when I will go for my PhD, I will make sure I do that PhD in aquaculture and fisheries, fishery management department. That's where I'll do it, because fish is a food. But the only thing is my project will be around processing, value addition, product development, which is something I'm more familiar with. So far, so good. They say the rest is history. So that's how I became a fisheries, but fish as a food practitioner, not just general fishes, you understand? Yeah. So I think that's that. That was what,
That's
that
a
was how I
lovely
came
journey.
about my profession. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, one of the things that we teach in my community and I, like you have also volunteered to teach my community and I at some point. So, one of the things we teach is that every profession exists to solve a problem within the society. So, within this aquaculture and fisheries and fish as a food, what problem are you solving and why is it important that this problem is being solved?
Thank you so much. Thank you. This is yeah, and you are speaking, you are touching me. These are my passions and everything. Thank you so much. Yeah, so what problem do I solve in the fishery sector? Yeah, my work addresses critical issues around unsafe fish for processing, preservation. Then it speaks to addressing, safety safety first and foremost. There are still other things, but safety first and foremost. And this safety has to do with how safe, how free of contaminants are some of these fisheries products that we harvest from the water body and now ingest into our body. Because one thing about some of these contaminants, like there's a particular contaminant called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. They call them, they are actually carcinogens. They are cancer producing elements. They are cancer producing chemical substances. So, once your fish is contaminated with substances like this, you discover that by the time you ingest it into your body, there's no way you can get rid of them. And many of these diseases, it's accumulation, over the years. By the time you hit one today, it's contaminated, tomorrow, maybe next tomorrow, and it gets to a time that by the time the accumulation has gotten to a certain level, that is when they now tell you you are sick, or that this particular you'll be diagnosed for one sickness or the other. So one of the basic things that my research focus addresses is that, we have been able to, and I've also discovered that it's not even the pollution from the water body alone that brings about some of this contamination. Like this polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon that I just mentioned, if you use softwood to process your fish, you're also liable to accumulation of this PAH. For short, it's PAH. You're also liable to this accumulation. And, because softwood is something you cannot see, you can't detect it with your natural eye. It has to go maybe through instrumentation and things like that. That's when you discover that, okay, this particular fish, it has too many accumulation of pH. So because you can't see it, so my research focus also addresses, I go to communities, I do outreaches to those communities and let them know the effects of having products that have this accumulation. Apart from the fact that this even is unsafe for people that will consume it, it is something I believe you would have heard some instances whereby they tell you that fish products from Nigeria, they can't export it. Because, anything that wants to enter a particular country that has systems, it will go through instrumentation. So by the time they see it, they don't even bother. They just take some samples and do the analysis. Once they see that it's prone to all these things, they just, they destroy the product. They don't even allow you to even take it back. They destroy it outrightly. So apart from the fact that you are posing risk even to consumers that consume the product, you are also at a loss, even as yourself, if you are a practitioner in that business. No, those are some of the things that my work address. Then another thing that I've also been able to do, I've also been able to contribute to in the body of knowledge that I belong to is, for my PhD, I was able to use traditional preservatives like garlic, orange peel, ginger, and so on. All those things that are available, that are locally available in our communities. Yeah. Those are the things that I used to preserve smoked fish. And I was able to see that even many of them, some of these products are waste. For example, orange peel that, generally it's even it's a nuisance to the community. Yeah. So I was able to use it, and I was able to discover that it has preservative effect. And not just preservative effect. Many of these components, many of these traditional plant materials, they also have even antioxidant properties. Then, so we see them as functional food. Functional foods are foods that you consume them for health. Okay. You're not just consuming them for them to maybe taste nice alone. No, it has some health effects, healthy effects that it has on your body. So I've also been able to transfer this to the various women. In the research focus that I work majorly with women, because you know that it is women that does most of this processing and so on. Then another thing I've also been able to contribute to is that because I work with smoked fish a lot, so that led me even to studying some of these smoking kilns. So as I am today, I can consult for you and tell you the best type of smoking kilns that can help you in conserving energy and also giving rise to products that are safe and products that have improved quality, that can, then by the time you also add those functional foods as preservatives, they help you, because there are food additives that you have added that will add health to you by consuming them. Then another thing, the last thing I would like to speak to today is, that there's this call generally about global warming, climate change, and things like that. And you discover that one of the major things that causes that is deforestation. You know that for you to smoke your fish, you use because firewood has some small wood, some small firewood, some soft firewood I told you about as PAH. So you encourage people that no, by the time they use charcoal will give them a safer product. But how do we get charcoal? The era of getting charcoal from a coast city like Enugu has gone. So now you discover that what many people do is they go into the forest, they cut down the tree, they fell the trees, then they now convert those firewoods, those big trees, they convert them to charcoal, and they use those charcoal to smoke. So because of, to prevent deforestation that has negative effects on climate change, that led me to adopting some things like briquettes. We call it briquettes. It's also an energy source that is similar to charcoal, but this time around, you don't need to go to the forest to fall down trees to get briquette. Briquette is a product from agricultural waste products, like your coconut husk, your rice bran, your corn husk, and things like that. You dry them, and you're able to convert them into those briquettes. So that one will prevent deforestation, to reduce deforestation, and at the same time, it does not possess the PAH that softwood process, and you're able to get, and it also even has some kind of good flavor that it will add to your food component. So I believe that by the time you combine all of this together and everything, you discover that my contribution in this particular sector is huge, and I trust that it will continue to increase to the glory of God. Thank you.
The problem that you're solving, and now it's how do you keep, how does this problem, how does it keep you motivated to continue in this area? Because as I said, my career is an expression of myself in service to community. So we've talked about the problem. Now we're talking about you. What is it about you that makes you express yourself to solve this problem, and that keeps you motivated every time?
Thank you. That's a very good one. Thank you so much. Obviously, in fact, if I were to tell you some of the challenges, I've faced so many challenges in this particular field, as a scientist. And that's why you don't see many women you don't see many women as scientists. Yeah, because in fact, to mention some of those challenges, I got into Lagos and I got employed as a young wife. And obviously when you get married, after some time you are expected to to start giving birth to children and everything like that. So I had to take a personal decision that those initial stage, I will not continue with my PhD. And that led to me being stagnated for some time. Because if you don't, if you're in the academic profession, they say publish or perish. If you don't get some certification at any particular time, they will just tell you stay at that position for as long as you can get those certifications. So my PhD was one of those. I had to delay maybe around 7, 8 years, because then I had my boys, so I had to care for them, give them the best that I could then. So I had to delay things like that. So by the time I started, I was already stagnated. So I had to take longer years. But looking back today, I would say I'm happy. So saying that, I like to say that for me to have continued in this particular field is because obviously some things were motivating. So I had some motivation, some things that were motivating me to continue. And one of such was, winning the African Women in Agricultural Research Fellowship. You will be expected to go for some international conferences and so on and so. And I could remember the first international conference I went for in Scotland in year 2016. Then, putting up the papers, the papers and everything, at some point itself, because the grant that I even got to go to that particular conference didn't come until I've gone and I've come back. So, getting to that conference, I was so discouraged a bit that, does it really worth all this stress and everything? But you won't believe it that when I had my presentation then was on fatty acid components that are present in fish. Earlier on in my career, I saw a publication that said catfish has bad fat. So that got me curious that how can they say catfish has bad fat? And at the same time, we, in my particular food, we are promoting fish. We want people to take fish and everything. So, that got me into walking around that area. In fact, it was not one of those benefits that I mentioned earlier on, but I can talk about it. Yeah, so, I had to now go through, I did some walk around catfish, different types of catfish, the one that was raised, the one that was in the wild, the one that is raised in netting ponds, concrete tanks, and so on and so forth. I took all the various samples together and I now worked on it. I did some analysis on it. So after doing analysis on it, I discovered that no, that statement is wrong. The reason why the person will say catfish has bad fat is because of the type of feed that some farmers have fed that particular catfish with. So I was able to, demystify that particular statement of faith that catfish has bad fat. So that was one of the research output I took to that conference. So I had my presentation. After having my presentation, you won't believe that immediately I finished, somebody from the crowd, like 2 people, just stood up and told me that that they want to attest to what I've just said, I've just presented. Even me, I was thinking that maybe they were standing up to ask questions. But you believe that they told me there and there that one of them told me emphatically that he actually came from India, and because they have similar environment. They also have the tropics there. Yes. So that, and she was at the verge of having heart attack. But by the time she got to the hospital and they were able to work on her, they now told her that one of the things that prevented her from having that heart attack at that particular time was because she eats smoked fish a lot. So, she was able to educate the crowd there, the audience there, that it's true what she has just said. Because, some of the things I researched on was to know the category of fatty acid that is abundant in catfish. And I was able to see that it is more of the unsaturated fatty acid that are liquid at room temperature. One of the things that you can do to actually ascertain this is not that if you boil your fish, you boil your meat today, boil your meat, boil your fish, put them in different containers. You leave them on your shelf. Maybe you leave them till tomorrow morning. You discover that by the time you get there tomorrow morning, you will see that the fat, there will be layers of fat on your meat.
Yes.
Meanwhile, on your fish, you won't see layers of fat. Because fish has mostly unsaturated fatty acid that is liquid as room temperature. Do you understand?
Yes.
So by the time the woman said it, it led us into talking about this thing. In fact, the time allotted, the time was exhausted. People just continue to talk. So hearing things like that, I was so motivated. And another motivating factor has also been, by the time you come back, go for all these outreaches and everything, when you see smiles on the faces of some of these women and every one of them, it gives me joy. I'm just like, this is more of fulfilling purpose. At least you are able to measure even your impact by, by just going around telling people this and this is how you can do it. So that's another thing that gives me joy. Then another thing is also that there are sometimes, even with all this motivation, there are moments again that maybe, for example, you write a paper, you send it out, they now tell you that, this paper is below standard, though, paper is not good, it's not this, it's not that. And, at those points in time, I want to drop it. What is even about this side? But it's not compulsory, I'm a scientist. Let me go and find other things to do. Why at such point in time, something will just come, maybe a grant, a fellowship, you understand?
Yes.
And by the time you get grant to get fellowship like that, it's actually telling you that what you are doing, the impact is still, you understand? So at those points in time, I'll pick it again. It's like there are still more opportunities, or there are more mountains to conquer in this particular field. I can't just say I'm dropping it now. And I've been pushing, and God has been helping, sincerely. So it's because of the impact. When you see people come to you, they read your paper and they are so blessed, they did this and they are so blessed, it gives you joy. Then I'm also a lecturer. So by the time you train, you teach your students. I don't teach just for teaching's sake. I don't do, my students can attest to that. I don't do cut and paste that you give them and give you everything. No, I expect you to go and read about it. I deal more with applied questions. How can you apply to what you are doing? And it's not that many of them, even though while they are in school, they feel like she's wicked, she's this, she's that. But by the time they graduate, many of them will always come back. If not for those exposures that you gave me and everything, many of them, they are doing well in this particular field now. So those are the things that give me joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's lovely. So the impact, the fact that you're making good impact on the people that you serve is what keeps you motivated, and you're able to express yourself through your work. So that's really great. So now, though you have pointed to it in different areas, I'd like you to delve a bit more deeper in who exactly are the main stakeholders. So your primary stakeholders and the secondary stakeholders. If we can expand a bit more on those people, let's know who they are. As in the people who you're serving through this profession that you're doing now.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. First and foremost, I like to start from, they say from Jerusalem to Judea and then to the uppermost part of the earth. Yeah, so I would say my primary stakeholders, they are basically even myself, my home. For example, with all this knowledge that I have, that has also influenced how I cook my meals, how I do things. So at least I ensure that I cook well using the best principles and everything, so that you retain the nutrients that are present in any particular food product that you have. Because sometimes if you have a very good product and you don't process it, you don't cook it well. For example, some of us that cook vegetable, you leave it on the fire for 30 minutes. There's really nothing you are getting after the 30 minutes, because all the nutrients has been deactivated. Yeah, they have been natured. That's how we say it in food science. So I would say that's one thing, but the major stakeholders, because I know when you're asking this question, I'm trying to ask maybe the larger body, are really fish processors, food processors, people that are in food safety, not just even fish alone, any kind of food, the people that deal with food, because some of these outreaches that I do, I take it to some of them so that at least they can learn 1 or 2 tips on how they can handle fish, handle food in a better way. Because, there's something we say in processing, garbage in, garbage out. Processing cannot help you improve anything you are putting into it. It's just like a computer. It's the information you give in that will come out. The only thing is it will help you organize the information well. The same thing processing does. It is the quality that you bring in that will come out. But the only thing is you can find a way of improving the taste, improving the texture, improving all those things through processing. But the thing is the quality cannot improve, but it can be maintained. Do you understand? It can be maintained. So, sharing tips. So I work majorly, my primary stakeholders are fish processors. And not just fish processor, I also, another stakeholder that will say I have my students, then my colleagues, because obviously we have people that will work together. So other researchers, we can come together. Okay, so how best can we do this? Which communities can we go? If we have gone to one, maybe around my own locality, can we come to others around your own? So I would say those are the major stakeholders. But now secondary are now the general populace, policymakers, because some of those things that we do in our research, by the time you take it out there, it can help in influencing policies. It can help the policymakers in bringing about good policies that can help the general populace. So the general populace can be like maybe the tertiary stakeholders now. So it gets to the policymakers, it gets to regulatory bodies. For example, I told you that it may warrant doing some analysis, some instrumentation around your products. It's a regulatory body that does that. So those ones are also part of the secondary stakeholders. While the general populace, because everybody, we were able to see that during COVID-19, food, anybody dealing with food became how did they term them? Essential workers. They're essential workers because no matter what, food is essential. There's no way you can survive. Yeah, everybody must eat. There's no way you can survive without food. So that's how, it's in levels like that. So those are the various stakeholders. And I also work with, fisheries communities, coastal community, because my work now majorly around fish. And I've been able to go to so many coastal communities in this Lagos, on the island, everywhere. So those are also part of the stakeholders that I deal with. Then international bodies, especially, when you go for conferences like that, so you interact, you increase some body of knowledge even amongst people, because we only know much about your little area. So but you can know more. You can know little about everything by the time you interact with people. So even though you have your own focused area, you learn about other people's area so that you can speak no matter how little about almost everything. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So now let's look at like you said something about when our fish products are exported and they're tested and it's not acceptable internationally. So this is a negative impact on, would I say, poor performance. So so the question I'm trying to ask is, if you don't perform your own responsibilities, your role properly, how does this negatively impact the communities that you serve?
Thank you. This is a deep one. So my own lack of performance, or maybe my absenteeism or anything like that, how does it impact negatively? How does it affect the people I serve negatively? The first thing I would say is, I told you, we discovered that many of these terrible diseases, their advent became so prevalent. In the olden days, at least most of our great grandparents and everything like that, if it's not for accident, it's not that many of them, because they live long, because they are so close to nature. I'm a food scientist, but I'll tell you that the closer you are to natural products and what do they do then? Plant their vegetable, they just go outside, pick the vegetable, cook it, and eat. You discover that many of people like that, in those communities, they live longer than some of us in Lagos, because of some of this contamination, some of these adverse effects that some of our processing or our lifestyle has impacted, how these things have impacted negatively, or some of the food. Some of us, we take junk, fast food, you just believe that, okay, you want to eat out. Fine, it's good to eat out sometimes, but check the quality of what you are eating out to get. Because by the time you are getting some of these things, because they have not been done in the proper way, it exposes you to some sicknesses, some diseases that are not good. And what are the effects of some of those sicknesses? Sometimes they hamper you, the body, the person. They don't allow, it's always sometimes it will end in death, and that person is not able to fulfill and do what he's supposed to, or he or she has been sent here to do. So one major thing that poor performance of my work can lead to is prevalence of some of these diseases, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on and so forth. So that's one. Another thing, then, it also, by the time people are not properly, they are not aware of some of these contaminants like the PAH, or mercury or lead or poisoning or something like that, that the food product is contaminated with. By the time they are not aware, they can't be aware if there's nobody to go and tell
educate them.
To go and educate them and improve awareness. So that's another thing that my poor performance can lead to. Then high post-harvest losses. I believe every one of us have always been hearing this word, food insecurity. Food insecurity. As we are in Nigeria, I think there was a time some weeks ago that the president had to declare state of emergency on this issue of food insecurity. Especially these days that food is very, very expensive. So that many people don't eat that. I started by telling you that if you eat the right quantity of food at the right time, at the right environment and everything, you don't have any business falling sick. But one of the major things that is affecting that in a country like Nigeria is because food insecurity is prevalent. So that's another thing. If I'm not doing my work, at least the little contribution I've been able to add to knowledge, it has helped in improving food security in some of those coastal communities. Then I like to start with even the people, the fish processor that I'm talking to. Many of them have this attitude of they produce the product. So many times they don't even consume it themselves. They be like, no, it's better you sell it. So by the time you sell it, you don't have a good body, you are not healthy to do the work. We used to continue with that work some weeks later. So I tell them, consume, you eat first. By the time you eat, you have achieved food security as a person, as a family. It's then that you can now take it out. So do you understand? That's another area where I help. Then if I don't do my work, low performance of my work can also lead to missed opportunities for some of these people. I've told you, I go for outreaches, I build their capacity, I tell them how to do things in a better way. If there is nobody to go and tell them, that means they will continue in their improper ways. And by the time they continue in their improper ways, it will not give them even good source of income. They won't have good income. You understand? Many of them are discouraged. So that many fish processors they've left their communities because they always go out to go and look for better things to do. By the time they are not getting so much income from what they are doing. So that's another thing. Then missed innovations, Then policy influence. I've told you that at least my research, some extent, I'll be able to influence some good policies. So by the time there's no research like that, it can also negatively impact on the kind of policies that are taken out. For example, the one that they just declare state of emergency is because some of this, data that they have been able to put together that no, they need to declare state of emergency so that at least everybody will become aware and people that are in the agricultural space can do more. You understand? So that they can at least they can help in achieving this food security. Then another thing is environmental degradation. I told you, I've been able to, most of my work now is about getting some of these agricultural waste and converting them to briquettes so that at least I am able to contribute to reduce environmental degradation. If you go to the forest and go and fall off trees there, you are negatively impacting on the environment. You understand? So, my research is able to at least tell you there are better ways of doing it. Even though briquettes is maybe more expensive now, but I believe that at the long run, it will still be better. At least at the long run, it will be better because the kind of results you get, it's something that you yourself, you'll be proud of. Then another thing, lastly, loss of trust in academic community partnership and food system. By the time you don't, everything, the ecosystem is linked. What one person is doing has a way of affecting what another is doing. And many at times, some of these things are value chain. They are always in continuous linkage. So by the time there's a breakdown, discover that it affects everybody. It affects everybody because once there's a breakdown in linkages and things like that, you discover that it has a way of negatively affecting all others. Then there are some people that by the time you don't do your work, they're even demoralized. They'll be like, what's the essence? So everything we are doing is interconnected. Yes, they are connected. So that's why if one person is not doing what he or she is supposed to do, there will be problem in the community. There will be problem in the society. So that's why every one of us, no matter what you are doing, so far what you are doing is contributing to, to healthy living, is contributing to, let me end saying that, many of us don't know, we just say sustainability or sustainable development goals, but many of us don't really know the meaning of that word sustainability. Sustainability talks about affordability, that is economic sense. Whatever you are doing, if it doesn't have economic sense, then know that there's no way it can be sustainable. Economic sense, it has to be economically viable. Then the other thing is it has to be environmentally friendly. It has to be environmentally friendly. Anything you are doing that is impacting negatively on the society is not good. Then the last thing is acceptability. Socially, it has to be acceptable. So those are the three facets, three areas of focus that determines the sustainability of anything. You understand? So it has to be economically viable, it has to be environmentally friendly, and it has to be socially acceptable.
I have learned something new today.
Yeah, yes.
Lovely. Okay. So now in the last part, I'd like you to give us what advice would you give fellow practitioners, number one, and then for young people who might be interested in what you do, what advice would you give them now?
Thank you. So let me start by focusing on fellow practitioners. One thing I tell people is when you talk about opportunities always abound in places where you have several problems. In places where you have several problems. So because I discovered that one of the bandwagon that is now common everywhere is Japa syndrome. Everybody wants to run away. Nobody wants to stay. No, things are difficult there. you cannot do anything, you can't do any business, you can't. I like to tell fellow practitioners, because I know many people are discouraged. They have so many reasons to be discouraged. Lack of facilities, inadequate facilities. I've told you now that sometimes when you write paper, they reject it. Many papers from Nigeria. So what I do now is I collaborate with people that are there in the diaspora. So we have some people, it has advantages, but the disadvantages far outweighs the advantage. So I like to tell fellow practitioners that please note that it is in places where you have plenty problems. That is where you have opportunities. You have opportunities to express yourself. You have opportunities to pick up career. One of the major things you need to do, look even around your area. What are the prevalent problems there? If you solve any problem, that is when you have opportunity to earn. That is when you have opportunity to increase income. So please, let's look around us. Nigeria that's why they say it's a land of opportunity, because there are so many things we can do, so many things we can engage in that will help in, making the society better. And when you are solving societal problems like one way, resources will not your way. And I would like to encourage them too by also saying that, like I've told you, one of the motivating factors, one of the things that motivates me is that when I see the kind of impact you're able to, to help people, you are able to impact into others, it gives you joy, because you know that I know I'm a very important person. Those are places where you can get your fulfillment, your satisfaction, knowing well that, okay, these are the problems that I saw in this particular community. So I like to encourage every one of them. And I also like to tell them that this era is not the era where you can achieve success alone. You need to improve your network. You need to improve your network. I told you the other time that once I saw that, okay, they reject many of the papers, once they see that the paper starts from here, it originates from here, they will doubt the credibility of some of the analysis. Because the truth of the matter is some researchers can cook up results. So what do? I network with people outside. We have people, and then by going for conferences like that, you meet with people that are in your field, people that you can collaborate with, partner with, so that sometimes you even learn some of the good things they have done and see how you can adapt them. Adaptability, let's not forget that we need to possess. Those are some of the soft skills that we need to excel in the world of work today. You need to know how you can adapt some of these things to our realities. You don't just copy things and come and you cut it and come and paste. It will not work if you are doing cut and paste. So you need to adapt it. You need to find a way of, okay, how can it help in making things better? Yeah. So you need to improve your network so that you can collaborate with others. Then you also need mentors. That's another thing that has helped me in this journey. I have people that I look up to. In fact, I have mentors in every area of life. Maritally, I have mentors. Career-wise, professionally, I have mentors. In almost everything, because there's this saying that one of the fastest way of learning is by learning from the experiences of others. You don't have to fail where they have failed. When you have taken your time to learn from their experiences, you start where they are ending is where you start. If you have mentors, so it's always good to look for mentors. Look for mentors in every area, so that those ones can tell you some of the pitfalls and everything to avoid in your growth. Then I've talked about collaboration. Then as you are also being mentored, it's always also good for you to even seek for others that you can mentor. You understand? They say one of the reasons why they say the Dead Sea is dead is because it keeps taking in, it's not giving out. If you don't give out, there's no way. You can't, you suffer from even food. By the time you have food, you are eating, you are not taking out, you are not excreting. It becomes a problem, constipation. So that's another thing. As you are being mentored, as you are being favorably getting some favors and everything all around, learn to give others too. Learn to extend some of these opportunities to other
To
people coming.
others.
Yeah, so that you can have, they always say that if you don't mind, if you don't keep to all those things that take you to the top, it's other than one thing is by the time you get to the top, it will be very lonely there. And then another thing is, if you destroy the bridges, your coming down will be fatal as well.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
speaks to having a community-driven focus in
Perspective.
everything you are
Yes.
doing. You're always thinking of what can you do for others too. Nigeria has been good to me sincerely. That's why when I see some of these debates going on here and there, and they don't do this, they don't do the truth of the matter is Nigeria is one of the places where you pay so little to get developed. So at least for that, you even have this, you should have this mindset of giving back to that particular community to become a better place.
Yeah.
So those are my advice to my fellow practitioners. And the last thing I would like to say is you need to stay rooted in our cultural context. I've spoken about adaptability.
Adaptability,
So
yes.
if you don't get anything, please get this. You discover that one of the major setbacks, one of the major pitfalls that we have been falling into as a nation is we don't take time. See, for every community, God has taken time to put all the resources that you need for you to be successful in that particular locality. But you see that what I've seen mainly with Nigerians is we always believe that every other thing that we don't have, those are the good things for us. No. You saw during COVID, people were dying all over. Dying. I believe that should speak to many of us that see, our area of focus now should be more of innovating, providing standardization in some of the things that we have around. We can't be at par with the developed world when it comes to maybe some ICT tools and everything. But we have some indigenous plants. We have, see some people that during COVID-19, they were infected with that. All those people that took all the locally available material, plant seed, ginger, garlic, all those ones. You saw how they were able to recover. Then many people were not exposed to that disease to not kill us because of some of the things they have been hitting. Yes. And then the grace of God, because there's nothing beyond the grace of God, able to surmount that challenge. So that's to tell us that we should learn more on focusing on providing standards. Many of these traditional products, they work, sincerely. In fact, I'm even one of the things I'm trying to push to the government now, all those policymakers, if they can find a way of standardizing some of these local indigenous agro, sincerely, they work. But the only thing is no standard. You don't know how many teaspoons you need to take. You don't know how many do you understand? There is need for us to standardize so that you can say, okay, take 2 spoons. By the time you take 2 spoons in the morning, in the night you take this, it can help. So that's to tell you some of the areas we should start focusing on. So now to advise people coming behind, pursue education, and there are several ways of, the world is going past, what do you have now? What qualification do you have? What problem are you solving? That is where we are going now. So there are several ways of pursuing this education. In fact, I was listening to somebody, like a motivational speaker, and he was saying that gone are the days where your child can just come and tell you, hey, I want to study medicine and surgery. That now you need to have, as a parent, gather your children, talk with them. You've noticed some traits, you've noticed some things that are inherent in them. This era now, push them in that direction. And we have been able to see that it's not only when you study medicine that you will become successful. In fact, the area we are going now, AI is replacing almost everything. So you need to have talk with those people coming behind. What area? What are your flair? What do you like doing? That even if you are not paid, you are still motivated doing it. You should, from my own story now, you should know that it is not a monetary rewards that are there's a time that monetary reward will not even be there. That it takes you to be internally motivated. So you need to sit those people down. So that's my advice for people coming behind. Pursue education, pursue your interest. Try and find a solution. Even if you have the opportunity of going abroad, go. But many a times I've discovered that the people that are really successful are people that are taking time to understand the context here. They know the exact problem they want to solve. So while they are going there to find solutions. Come back and come and solve those problems. And you'll be amazed at the kind of resources that will flow your way. That's material, financial resources. Then the fulfillment you get by solving general problem is also there. Then I tell them as well, seek for mentors. Just like I advise my fellow practitioners, anybody coming after us, seek for good mentors that can help you in all area, in every area of work. And another thing I also like to tell them, this generation now, they tell you they are Gen Z, they want fast thing. No, it's not everything that is fast, though. It's not everything, That's what I tell people. I've not been duped by all this MMM, because me, I've always known that from the beginning. It is what you do with your hands that can never deceive you.
Yes.
Now put money in one place, you say it will multiply. You need to be very careful. So we should be averse to some of these, trendy things that it has to be fast. No, it's not everything that is fast. Everything in life is just the principle of the mustard seed. You plant it, it will continue to grow gradually. The only thing that starts from the top is going down. That love, it will always go down. What's that thing? Graveyard. That's what they do. Every other thing will grow from the ground, then it goes it's a gradual process. Then another thing, I told you the other time that one of the ways of getting in this lecturing job, it's not as if lecturing job work. I see some of my mates that up to now, they're still looking for what to do. They are looking for lecturing, they are not getting it. One of the things I did, I got to Lagos, I volunteered myself. That's one thing I don't see in Nigeria. That's one fastest way of getting into any company. If you want to go into the oil sector anywhere, everything understands that particular principle. You volunteer your time, do it as unto the Lord, even if it's something that you are doing without getting paid. Put all your commitment and everything. After I did that, and between the space of months, I was able to get my desired job. You understand? So let's always try to, give at least everything you have, get involved in community service, community development, advocacy, and everything like that. Then another thing too, I've told my fellow practitioners, they should be adaptable. Yes. So you need to have some soft skills, problem-solving skills, adaptability, flexibility. You don't have to be rigid. You are still very young. That's one thing I see in some of my students. They will tell you now, no, it has to. No, don't be open to ideas. Be objective in life so that you can
everything
learn.
Is changing.
Absolutely. Things are changing.
Yes. So
things are changing. So you have to move with the time.
You need to move, yes.
Yeah, if you don't move with the time, you'll be left behind. Yes, by the time you wake up, just cover everybody has gone ahead. Yes. Then these days, there is no career, nothing that you can do without ICT. Sincerely, I went for an international conference last year and I discovered that most of us crying there, it's not good, it's this, AI is not this, AI, it helps in reducing intelligence. All of us are from Africa. You know what those people told us? That you continue to shout because many of you don't even know how to use some of these things. You don't even expose yourself. You don't know how to use it. So that's why you now say it's making students to be lazy and everything. No. If you know how to use it, you know the things you can use it for, why you can put yourself in areas where AI cannot you understand? And you now begin to use your time for creative thinking around those areas, around those things that AI cannot do. While you leave AI, if you to write, to do something, leave it to AI to help you do it well. You want to be informed about when you have meetings, like having like a time schedule and everything. You can use things like that for that. While you focus on more demanding areas, you understand? And you now use your capacity. So please, as young ones coming. It's your age now. ICT, AI, robots are transforming things now. So please, anything you want to do, note that there is no point even starting at all if there's no way you can incorporate ICT to help you.
into your
It
work.
helps you to achieve things faster, and it helps you. And then let's not forget that it's still a global world. Like I've told you when I was talking about ecosystem, what you do has a way of affecting what others are doing. Let's also know that it is still a commonwealth everywhere. People in America, we are all linked by climate, we are all linked. So anything you are doing to solve them, one way or the other, is also affecting them. So please, let's be up and doing. And the last thing I would like to say is we all need the grace of God. We all need God in everything we are doing. I believe that's one of the even motivation that you have. For example, you have started this my community and I for a very long time, and for you to have still continued, you understand, is because obviously you have some divine enablement, some grace, motivation.
Definitely.
So please, let's stay true to God, and let's believe that everything will work out fine. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayojesutomi Abiodun-Solanke. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. I've learned new things, and I know that our listeners will learn something new today as well. So with this, we have come to the end of the podcast. Once again, thank you for your time. At the end of the day, let's make up our minds to do the right thing at the right time so that we'll always have the right results for our commonwealth. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.